It's 1 o'clock our time, 2 o'clock Eastern time, and welcome to another episode of What Does This Button Do by the Geeks on Tour. It's an educational show about smartphones and tablets with me, I'm Jim.
And I'm Chris.
And we are the Geeks on Tour. We do invite you to become I missed that one. I do invite you to become a member of Geeks on Tour. And you can do that at our website, geeksontour.com. And I'm Jim, and together with my wife here, Chris, we're the Geeks on Tour. And do you think your smartphone is smarter than you? Yeah.
We hear that all the time.
We do. Do you have questions about your Android or your iPad tablet? And how do you learn about these amazing devices that we have lined up here behind us?
Well, we are geeks who teach, and we think the best way to learn is a little bit at a time on a regular basis. So that's why we came up with this weekly show. On our website, geeksontour.com, we have lots of other videos on all the things we teach. This show is about smartphones and tablets.
And I think we have a really good show for you this week. It'll be a little bit different. We'll start with some quick tips, and then we'll get into the beginner's lesson. This week, it is about mobile devices and what are your choices? Do you need before you walk into the store? And I'll have an app of the week. This week, it's MyFitnessPal. If you have questions, please ask them there in the comments, and we'll try to get them answered here during the show. And the show is recorded on YouTube on our Geeks on Tour channel. So check out YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you can. So where are we now?
We are in Biloxi, Mississippi. We are east of the Mississippi.
East of the Mississippi. It's been a while since we've been over here.
And we are here because we have a passion for presidential museums. Now, we have been to all 13, I think it is, official presidential museums. So why are we here in Biloxi, Mississippi?
Very important. If you're from the South, Jefferson Davis has his home and library here. Jefferson Davis was the president of the Confederate States of America.
Confederate States of America, as opposed to the United States of America. And we just spent a couple days in Vicksburg, where there was a major battle and siege of the Civil War. So we're really in South mode right now.
We're into history, and we kind of enjoy the history of the Civil War, as tragic and as terrible as it was.
And we found a great place to park.
Oh, this is amazing. We have very quiet neighbors. They're right over
here.
Right? There's a cemetery there. We took a walk through it this morning, and it is just so amazing. It's nice and quiet. We do have a train. It is very close.
Well, what's an RV parking
without a train? Absolutely. So cool.
But this is an Elks Lodge, so we even had steak dinner inside the lodge, and we're right across the street from the Gulf of Mexico. I'm seeing what looks like ocean out my window right here.
And it is a beautiful, beautiful Gulf.
So we're enjoying
sandy beaches. Okay. Quick tips.
Quick tips.
You ready?
Yeah, a couple of quick tips. Number one, if any of you are lucky enough, like us, to have an unlimited Verizon data plan, you might very well be using the same app that we use to turn it into a hotspot, and that is Foxfi. And whenever our phones update to a new version of the Android operating system, I know I, for one, am always afraid that Foxfi isn't going to work anymore. And I just want to tell you that I recently updated my phone. You still haven't gotten it, have you?
Oh, yeah. No, I
you did. Okay.
I did update my phone to the latest
Lollipop, which is Android 5.0 or 5.1, depending on where you're at with that.
Numbers. It's a little bit nerve-wracking when you are getting your internet the way we do, that we have to have. And here in Biloxi, we're not so sure we're having great bandwidth. Although most places where we travel, it's been really, really good.
It looked like it was okay. There's a cell tower not too far, and our speeds are decent, but not real good right now. Anyway, my tip is Foxfi does work just fine from personal experience on the newest Android operating
It works for
system.
me. Okay.
Okay, and then one more tip is, and this came from our last rally, we showed a lot of people how to put ICE information on their home screens of their
In case of emergency.
in case of emergency. So on my Samsung, if I notice right here, it says ICE Jim Gould and Jim's phone number. So how did I get that on there? It's in your settings. It's very easy just to get that information on an Android. In your settings, let's see if I can get that even a little bit darker there. That's showing up.
Yeah, it looks good.
Settings, and that's called your lock screen. So if you are in some kind of an accident, first responders on your phone, turn it on, very likely all they can do is look at your lock screen. So you want information on the lock screen. Lock screen, and then on Android, right here, owner information. Whatever you type in owner information will appear on your lock screen. Okay. On the iDevices, on the Apple devices, there is no similar thing, but look, I just made some up here. This is a cute little do-it-yourself workaround. I took a picture. I wrote some information, and I wrote an article about it, so this is fake information, obviously, but I just wrote some information on the card, took a picture of the card, and set that card as my screen wallpaper.
That's a great idea.
I thought it was pretty cute, yeah. Now, if you have iOS 8 on an iPhone, you have the Health app, and the Health app can put a medical ID on your lock screen, and that's great. That gives even more information, but if you just want to do it yourself, you can set your wallpaper. So it's a setting. Let's see if I can get this a little bit. Too much. Okay. So you just go into wallpaper. First of all, write the information and take a picture of it. Or if you have an in case of emergency card, a lot of people have those cards because you should have one in your wallet and in your glove box as well.
Great idea.
If you just take a picture of it, then you can go in here, choose new wallpaper, choose that wallpaper, and set it as your choices. We're talking about the initial terminology. Think of it, I know a lot of our viewers are RVers, not everybody, but when you first make a decision for an RV, you have to choose between a motorhome and a fifth wheel or a trailer. And then if you choose motorhome, you need to choose between diesel and gas. So those are the major decisions, the major choices that we want to talk about with smartphones and tablets. And I say there are three of them. First, smartphone or tablet. And we'll talk about what are the pros and cons. Second, Wi-Fi only or with a data plan. And you need to, these are terms that you need to understand. And then third is which operating system, OS, Android, Apple, or Windows.
Okay.
And the way we're going to do this, I just have a couple of informational slides, and then Jim and I are going to chat and do a show and tell of all our devices and what we think you should know. All right. So.
I got lost there for a couple of minutes, but I think I'm back fine.
Oh, okay. So they're seeing this slide now?
Yes.
Okay. So on smartphones, now we're talking about phones, you have three families. Android, which is by Google, Apple iOS, and Windows. Now, if you look at the picture on the screen, under the Android, you'll notice that there are lots of different manufacturers. That's because Android is an open operating system made by Google and licensed to these hardware manufacturers. And each hardware manufacturer can do some special stuff to it. So Samsung is currently the most popular. At one point in time, it was Motorola. HTC is a manufacturer. LG is a manufacturer. And there are lots more.
A lot more, yeah.
So just because you say I have an Android phone, it can be very different from my Android phone because it has a different manufacturer. Now with Apple, Apple is Apple, period.
That's true, but they have different versions.
This is true, yes. If you have an Apple phone, you have an iPhone. So that's another thing with terminology too. Smartphone is the generic term. Android is one family using the Android operating system. Apple has another family, but it's all Apple. And then there's Windows. So Windows operating system, and the phones could be made by Nokia or Microsoft. So the first thing to understand about smartphones is that they have an operating system and a manufacturer. Now, what's the pros and cons of that? Oh, we'll get to that in a minute. Let's go on.
Okay.
To tablets. Now, some people point to a tablet and they say it's an iPad. No, an iPad is an Apple tablet.
But it has kind of become a generic term.
Yeah, but it's really wrong.
Really wrong, I agree.
When people say, I have an iPad, I give them instructions based on the fact that they say they have an iPad.
An Apple device.
If what they actually have is an Android tablet, the instructions are very different.
And some people who have these Kindles even think those are iPads for some reason.
Right. So it's not. You need to know the operating system of the device you have. And it's the same as the smartphones. The only difference is they're bigger. And Microsoft also makes tablets. And there are lots more of manufacturers, but you pretty much have to choose between Android, Apple, and Windows. Now, one point I like to make, in my opinion, tablets do not replace computers.
Yeah, we almost had to drag her out of a Verizon store not too long ago because the salesperson was trying to sell a tablet to a prospective customer, and they asked if this can replace their computer. And the salesman said, yeah.
She said, sure, you could. Their Microsoft Office comes on here.
Word,
you can do
Excel,
spreadsheets. You can
absolutely.
do documents. You can manage all your pictures. Sure, no problem. And literally, Jim had to drag me away because I wanted to
tell him.
Yes, there is a. Technically, it's true.
Yes.
I mean, everything the salesperson said was true, but no. No.
You know, we say that tablets are great, and obviously we like them.
Several.
We have a bunch of them here, but they are more, specific for specific purposes. A laptop can do so much more, especially if you're creating content.
If you're writing letters, you're making spreadsheets, you're managing pictures and making collages.
Or videos, editing videos.
Video editing.
It's so much better on a good, fast, powerful computer than it can be on, even though it can be done, I don't like to do it on a tablet.
No, with a keyboard and mouse.
Right.
And to me, the mouse is probably the biggest difference. Working on a tablet with your finger is fine when all you're doing is saying, oh, I want to see that, or I want to see that, or I want to see this other thing. But when you start having to copy and paste, for example,
it can be done.
It's just painful. And the second thing is they don't have that much storage. To manage my library of pictures, my thousands and thousands of pictures, I need a computer.
And you have them on an external hard drive to even supplement the storage of the hard drive on your computer.
Now, there are such things, maybe we'll show one soon, as wireless external hard drives for tablets, but they are not in standard use.
But it's coming.
Okay. But now, tablets do not replace computers
except for something like this. This is a Windows 8.1 Surface Pro. Now, I do have a Surface Pro, and I really, really like it. But in the rig or in my office, I have it set up with a full-size monitor, keyboard, and mouse, and it works just fine. But when I want to be portable, I can just scoot right off and beyond that. Now, Surface or Microsoft does make a tablet that is just a tablet. It's called the RT tablet, and it will run apps. It will not run the old Windows applications that would only run on a computer. And then Chris's computer, here we go.
Now, this is my laptop computer. It is a Windows 8 computer. I love it. This is Lenovo Yoga, but it says that it's a tablet. And yeah, okay, I can fold it over, and it's touchscreen, and it is a tablet, but to me, tablet means Android or Apple.
And usually a smaller screen.
Yeah.
This is really nice for certain things, but it is not what we normally consider a tablet.
Yeah, but see, this will run Picasa. Picasa is Windows software. It can't run on tablets, and I need my Picasa. So
I hear you.
So that's
what we got.
In our opinion, do not believe the salespeople if they tell you a tablet can replace your laptop. Not yet.
But it's coming.
Not yet. Yeah. Okay. So smartphones are also branded by the service provider. So you might say, oh, I have a Verizon phone, or I have an AT&T phone. Well, that's because if it is a phone, it needs to have phone service, cellular phone service. So it does have to come from one of these companies. And usually you are locked in to one of those companies.
Gotcha.
And what does this mean? What does cell service means? It means that you're getting both voice and data from a cell tower. But is every cell tower that you see out there going to do you good?
Only if the antennas are transmitting and receiving cellular data that's on your plan. So we have been by some or close to some cell towers and had very little as far as signal on our Verizon phones. What does that tell us?
That's not a Verizon tower.
Yeah, it's AT&T or Sprint or T-Mobile or one of the others. But we can tell when we're close by a Verizon tower because those bars just
jump
right
way up there. Yeah,
it's a wonderful thing. This picture that's up there, that was up there, is a tower that was at Leaf Verde RV Park in Arizona and Buckeye, and it was right there. And we had good, strong, and we've done several of our shows from there. So,
okay, so tablets may or may not have cellular service. So this is a huge choice. If you've decided you want a tablet, then you have to decide, are you going to get cell service with the tablet or not? Even if you do get cell service, they do not have voice service. There is no telephone number with a tablet. So that's just something to know. So why do you get a tablet?
I get a tablet for a specific purpose, typically. So our tablets are being used for specific purposes. And my tablet, my Nexus 7 tablet here, I had to make sure I can tell on the back because it has Mickey Mouse on it.
And it also says Nexus.
Yeah, it says Nexus. This is an Android tablet. It was one of the first tablets I got, and it has Velcro on the back there so that I can Velcro it up next to the bed there. It is my clock radio at night, and I can listen to news and weather, and I can check my email on it, and I can look at my Facebook stuff. So it's kind of handy, and I like it for that. I can also use it with some apps that I've downloaded. It's a pretty good Android tablet. So one of the things I use it for is when I fly my quadcopter, I can run that app off of that one too.
But now that one has no cell data plan.
No
correct?
cell data plan. It is Wi-Fi only.
And that means when you bought it, you just bought it. You didn't sign up for
No
a
contract, no
contract.
nothing like that. Right.
Okay. Back here.
All right.
So another thing that tablets may or may not have is GPS.
And that's kind of important to us. And that's one of the reasons that I bought that Nexus tablet. I was evaluating Copilot Live, which is a really pretty good navigation program. And it downloads the maps all the way down to the device, so you don't need an internet connection as you're traveling to navigate. So it was important that I have a GPS receiver inside that tablet. It just worked out that way.
Okay, and the last thing that that a tablet may or may not have is the camera. Now I'm talking about the rear-facing camera. I think all of them have the front-facing camera.
All the ones that I've seen do.
Because they believe that you'll use it for video calls, video chats.
Right.
So that has to have the front-facing camera. But the rear-facing camera is what you use as a camera. So if you're a traveler, I think you probably want a camera on it. So that's something else that you need to decide.
And you're seeing more and more people taking pictures with their tablets out there.
It looks kind of funny.
Yeah, you have this great big thing that you're holding up in front, and it can be even annoying if you're behind these people. So.
All right, so how do you know what you have? So we look at all these tablets. Look at all these tablets. Jeez.
How many do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4 tablets, 5 if you count.
5, this one. Okay. And I know some people would look at those 5 things and say, oh, you have 5 iPads. No, we only have one iPad. And the only way I can look at the front of it and know that it's an iPad because of the circular button, the home button.
But the one that's right next to you there looks to be the same
an awful
size.
lot like it, doesn't it?
In fact, we even used an iPad
the screen cover
protector, so it has the little hole for the home button.
But if I turn it on, that does not look like an iPad.
Yeah.
This is the real pad. This is the AARP, and we did a whole show on it a while back. We decided that we don't like it all that much. So, but
for some people, it might be a fine tablet.
Having the phone support was a pretty cool
AARP,
thing.
It's for retired people, and so that's some of our audience is retired.
So the biggest difference between these two, though, would be this has the Apple iOS operating system, and this one is based on Android with its own customization to it. All right. But now how come, so this is a question for you, Jim. You only have one phone that you use, right?
Right.
But you have several tablets.
I do. I have my Note 3. This is my main phone. This is the phone that I use. That's always with me. And it's a Note 3. So it'll take notes with this stylus. I have a stylus, and I can write on it using the stylus. It's hard to see that, but yeah,
that, by the way, is the difference between the Galaxy Note and the Galaxy Tab. Note means a pen.
Taking notes with a stylus.
Yeah.
And I really like it. It has a big screen, and it's my phone. It's always with me.
But I say that the reason I have one phone but multiple tablets is twofold. Number one, the phone has a phone number. It's part of my identity.
Right.
People want to call me. They call this phone number, and it's usually in my pocket. So it just doesn't make sense to have more than one. And what was the second thing? I forget. Well, just because I carry it around with me all the time, so couldn't have 2. Although we are planning on getting a second phone.
Yeah, we're going to bite the bullet. We're going to get a T-Mobile account with an iPhone. That way we'll be able to do the iPhone demonstrations with a real iPhone instead of just the iOS Apple iPad. So we're going to do that. And a big reason is because we're going to go over to England. We're going to visit our friends in June. And T-Mobile has good international data for no extra charge. So we will have unlimited slow, I understand, data, and we'll be able to make phone calls while we're there. So that's important for us. So,
and with a phone, you have to have service. So you're paying a monthly fee, somewhere between $50 and $120 a month for all the phone service. Now, a tablet, if you get a tablet that is Wi-Fi only, all you're paying is the cost of it. So
right.
this is the latest tablet that we got, the Samsung. This is kind of our dedicated sales machine. The little credit card swiper goes on this. And you don't carry this around in your pocket. We paid about $140, I think, for
Something
this.
like that, yeah.
And then that's it. No monthly contract.
But it has to be connected to a Wi-Fi hotspot in order for it to get data and to use that credit card swiper.
Okay, so what do we think you should get?
All of the above. I think you should have one of each.
If you haven't gotten anything yet, then we do think everybody should have a smartphone. They are so useful. They are so
and more important all the time.
Important to safety and information. But if you are very attached to your flip phone and you're afraid to get rid of it, we think it's okay to get a tablet for learning, because they do the same things other than the phone calls.
Right.
They do the same thing. So that would be a learning, but know that you are learning in preparation to get a smartphone. Now, operating system, should you get Apple or Android or Windows?
Yes.
I think it's a perfectly good question to say, what does your family have? Because they're who you're probably going to be asking for support, and it's the operating system that is what people know how to use. So
and if you're in the Apple world, if you already have a Mac or a MacBook or something like that, then Apple is really pretty much the way that you want to go. You probably might already have an iPad if you have a Mac, but if you're looking for a smartphone, don't have one yet, then the iPhone is probably the direction you want to take. If your family, friends, your support network, if you will, if they're on Android, you're probably going to want to stick with what they have, because they're the ones that you're going to be answering the questions that you will inevitably have.
But we have Android phones. That was an accident of history because the iPhone first came out only available on AT&T network, and we needed to stick with Verizon. So we had to wait. We wanted an iPhone, but we had to wait until the first smartphone was available on Verizon, which happened to be Android.
Yeah, it was a Motorola.
As it turns out, we're glad. We think Android has more capabilities, more flexibilities. It's geekier.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Android is geekier. There are things that I couldn't do with an iPhone, but there's not that much difference.
No.
And the fact that Apple controls the whole process means that the Apple devices generally work.
Yeah.
Generally. They are a little bit easier. So those are the two big. And then Windows are great phones, but somehow their marketing hasn't caught on. There's just not many people who have Windows phones, so there's not many people to ask questions.
But I understand that they're probably the simplest of the smartphones. They do have good cameras, excellent cameras.
Excellent cameras.
And they have, certainly going to be able to browse the web and do your email, do your calendaring, and the GPS is built in. So they can do all of the things that you need to do.
But you have to be willing to be a bit of a loner.
Right. That is one thing.
Right now, anyway.
Yeah,
that might change.
It probably will change.
Okay, I think that was it for my. They can be expensive.
Phones, absolutely. And that's something that we didn't talk about, is the subsidized plans that you get. You can buy these phones, a lot of them very cheaply, especially if they're like one step removed from the latest and greatest. You can really get a good deal on them. And they have specials all the time, so you can get you can get a phone as long as you're willing to change your contract and re-up for a 2-year contract. You can get them pretty inexpensively.
Now we absolutely do not have time to go into
all
the different plans.
Time we had planned.
But just if you want to know more, our recommendation is this book, the Mobile Internet Handbook by Chris Dunphy and Cherie Viard of, where's the website listed? rvmobileinternet.com. They keep up with all of the details, and you can see why we can't cover all this information in 15 minutes. So
there's a lot to know, without a doubt. And these guys really do a great job of keeping up with it. They're our friends from Technomadia.
rvmobileinternet.com.
Excellent.
Okay. So, any viewer questions?
I don't see any questions. A couple of people are out there saying that they are a little bit late and watching now. That's Bob. We did have a sound problem. It happens. And he's back on. Art Darling. As I guess this is a question, I don't think I'm following Google Plus to its full potential. What are some of the basics to it? Well, Art, that is a huge question.
Yeah.
And it is something that we probably can't answer. And
the biggest problem is I don't think Google knows.
Yeah. It is several different things. It is the technology that we're using to produce these shows. So that's a piece of it. It's kind of like a Facebook. It's a social networking. So that's another piece to it. It is all of your photos if you want it to be. So,
well, they have just started breaking that out. So Photos is becoming its own Google product, not tied to Google Plus and Hangout. So they're changing it from Google Plus to Google Photos, Google Hangouts, and Google Stream. What we know as Google Plus is becoming Google Stream. I think that's the right word.
Okay.
Anyway, so yes, we will definitely talk more and more about Google Plus, but it'll
change next week too. So
right.
That's something that we have to deal with.
But the Photos is breaking out, which I think is a good thing.
Okay. Brenda says the mobile handbook is a wonderful resource, and we have to agree. Yes. Thanks, Brenda. Write a review. Okay. It's time to do our
app of the week.
App of the week. Okay. Let's see. That should be it. Okay, the app of the week is MyFitnessPal. And if you are interested in losing weight or getting in shape or just monitoring your weight and your exercise, MyFitnessPal is a great app to have. You can set a daily calorie goal and record your daily food, exercise, so you can stay on track. It's free. You can get it for Android, for the Apple, the iOS, or for Windows. And you have a browser too. So it is a website and an app. They have a separate app for the iPhone and the iPad. So, and then they have Android.
But it all shares the same data.
It all shares the same data.
Your account.
And it's all free. You set up an account and you can connect it to other apps. So we connect ours to our Runkeeper app when we're taking a hike or a walk or something like that. You can connect it to all different kinds of phones and Fitbits and all these things. And the way it tracks your food is really kind of cool, because you can actually set it up so that it'll scan a barcode. And Chris is going to give this a shot. She's going to scan a barcode here.
Well, everybody knows that tracking what you eat is valuable to you, but it's a pain, right? Well, this makes it as easy as possible. So here, okay, here is my app, MyFitnessPal, right there. And let's say I wanted to track what I had for breakfast. I tap the little menu and diary and breakfast, add food. And instead of having to search for individual foods, I can add the things that I have often. So for example, this morning we had a spinach and cheese omelet, and it's on my list of recipes. And all you do is tap it and then check mark, say, yep, that's what I had. And then it even knows, and then we also had an apple. So I tap apple and that's it, you're done. Now, let's say I recently had one of these string cheese, and I don't feel like entering that all in, but in addition to adding things manually, I can type add and see where this little barcode. I can add by barcode. Tap right there and put the barcode in the window. And now it not only knows the calories, but it knows all of the information. And I say I had 1 stick, 1 serving, and it has the fat and the carbs and everything. And I just tap check. And now that's recorded. And because it is linked to other apps, it knows the amount of walking that we did the other day. And it tracks that too from our Runkeeper app.
Right. And while we were walking with Runkeeper, I had it on my Pebble watch. So I could tell without, and I could keep the phone in my pocket unless I wanted to take a picture with it. And all my steps were counted on my
MyFitnessPal. Yeah, everything comes into
MyFitnessPal. It's really handy. Here's a couple of screenshots here, and it'll track all kinds, what you had today. It'll track all of your exercise if you want to, your progress as you're going through this exercise program, and the nutrition, because nutrition and sleep are very, very important. Okay?
Okay. That's our app of the week.
All right, go back one. We do invite you to like us on our Facebook page. Very important. You should do that. And that's facebook.com/Geeks On Tour. All right. Did you learn something? I learned something every time we do this. It's amazing. So we have 1 smartphone each, but several tablets. Why?
Well, first of all, because the smartphone is part of your identity. It has a phone number attached to it that people can call, even though you can use tablets for phone calls. Oh, and I got this out to show. You can even plug a handset right into this, and then you can use Skype or Google Hangouts or Tango, all sorts of different apps to do phone calls, but people can't call you with a phone number on that.
Usually.
Yeah.
Okay. There is a way that I can do it with Google Plus.
Google Phone, Google Voice. Google Voice.
On my tablet. It's crazy. So choosing an operating system means A, Android versus Apple versus Microsoft, and B, Verizon versus AT&T versus Sprint versus T-Mobile, and on and on and on.
Operating system is A. The operating system is Android versus Apple versus Windows, Microsoft Windows.
Okay. If your tablet is Wi-Fi only, your cost includes what? The purchase price only, or the purchase price and a monthly service fee?
Just the purchase price, which is why you can rack up as many tablets as you want.
Or you can afford.
As long as you know how to connect them to a Wi-Fi hotspot. And if maybe you're at home and you have an always-on Wi-Fi hotspot, no reason to get a cellular contract. But if you're on the go like we do, my favorite tablet is absolutely the iPad, because it has its own data connection. Right. I don't have to connect it to a Wi-Fi hotspot.
True or false? All mobile devices include GPS.
False.
Bad.
Not all of them do.
So if you want to use it for navigation, you're going to want one with GPS.
Right.
Okay. To receive phone calls from anyone, you must have a smartphone, not a tablet.
I say true.
I say it depends.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
It can be done. And true or false, geeks advise to get the cheapest phone available.
No, these are amazing devices, and the technology only gets better day after day. So you need to get the best one that you can afford, we think. Otherwise, you
will be dissatisfied sooner.
Yeah.
How about if we put it that way? Yeah, that's true. Okay. I think that's just about it. So, Chris, what's the webpage that lists all of our weekly shows?
geeksontour.com, and the menu item is weekly show.
Right. And what's the webpage that lists all of our recent newsletters?
geeksontour.com, and then the menu item is blogs and articles. Newsletters is under there. Until it changes.
Yeah, and it changes all the time. So what benefits do you get by joining Geeks on Tour?
Number one, you get access to all of our tutorial videos on our website. And number two, you can ask questions in our member Q&A forum, and we promise to respond. And number three, you will get show notes for these weekly shows.
Do become a member at geeksontour.com. Sign up there, and you get all of those benefits that we talked about.
And we are member supported, so we say thank you very much.
Thank you very much, all of you members, because without you, we'd have to get jobs.
We'd have to get jobs.
Next time.
Next week, we're going to have a really special show. Mike Wendland, also known as PC Mike. He's been an RVer and technology journalist for NBC.
Right.
And he has his own weekly podcast called Road Trekking. And he is a geek. So we're looking forward that we've been on his podcast, and now he's going to be on our show and tell us some of his favorite travel apps.
Okay, and we'll have a quick tip and app of the week. We'll take your questions. So watch for the notification for next week's show. Make sure to click that you're coming and leave any questions there in the comments, either on our Google Plus event page or on the YouTube page.
And just remember, keep pressing those buttons.
Yeah, keep pressing those buttons, because you never know, what does this button do?
The only way to figure it out is to say, what does this button